Hello, everybody. Thanks for being available today. I can't tell you how excited we are to announce Joel being the next head coach of San Diego. He fits the bill perfectly of what we've been kind of searching for here in the last little while. We're all about development right now, obviously, and Joel has done that, in the Quebec League, Team Canada things, Laval. He's done an outstanding job, all these places. And when you kind of know in this business when people's contracts may be expiring and you keep an eye on everything. And when this opportunity became available, and with what happened in Montreal this year, it was really a good fortune Ducks for Joel to become available. And we were very excited to jump on it as quickly as we could when he became available July 1st. So again, this is all about development, and Joel is outstanding at that. Okay.
Joel, if you just a couple introductory comments from yourself on joining the Ducks organization and the head coach of the San Diego Gulls.
Yeah, well, thanks, Bob, for the kind word. It was not in the plan for me. Obviously, been in Quebec for years and was very lucky to be with the Montreal Canadiens, and want to thank Jeff Molson and Marc Bergevin for giving me a chance in the pro after being in junior for a few years with my own hockey club. So it was a great experience at Laval. Honestly, we really worked well with the player, the staff, the community. But like Bob said, when July 1st came, I kind of didn't see it coming. I didn't see it as an option, to be honest. I was ready to listen to what was available in Montreal to try to move up in some way with getting more experience and keep going with the development. But I really, really liked my talk with Bob, Martin Madden, and everybody with the staff at the Duck. We really connected right away. I knew that was going to make my decision difficult at the end because, you always have to look at all the angles, but it was a good fit. I like challenges. I like to reinvent myself, and I'm not the kind of guy that back out from a challenge, and I felt that was a hell of a challenge.
Okay, we'll open it up to questions, and we'll start with Kevin Reynolds. Go unmute your mic and ask your question.
I was just curious to kind of start off with Kevin, the last coach, had a couple of winning seasons under unusual circumstances. I was just curious why the decision was made to move off of him, and what the timeline of this hire was. I know July 1st you've been mentioning that, but when did you kind of know that you were moving off of Kevin?
Not until, as I said, Kevin did a good job for us, and we're focusing. Focus is definitely gone more to development. Kevin did a good job with that hockey team, but this is more about Joel. This is more about where we're going and timeline. And as I talked to Kevin and the staff, and I said, look, I'm looking into a couple of things, and I'm going to have to wait for a couple of things that may happen. And it's just what I feel we have to do as an organization. And again, this is all about Joel. Kevin did a good job, but this is all about the development, and we got lucky here. We got lucky with what happened in Montreal this year, and we're very fortunate.
Lee Hamilton, if you want to unmute your mic and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. I got questions for both. Joel, you've done so many things as a player and obviously played and worked under a lot of different leaders, coaches. Who's had the biggest philosophical impact on you as to what kind of coach you would become? Somebody in the NHL, somebody in the minor leagues? Who was it?
I tell you what, every coaches that you have, even if the experience wasn't great, it's still a great experience. And that's one of the reasons why coming with the Ducks is such a great challenge, because you have to live experiences, and everything I've lived with coaches were great. But Barry Trotz with Nashville Predators was definitely a guy that, we started the franchise. He started as a coach. I started as a player there, and I really felt he had a good grasp on the NHL and how to treat player and how to connect with player. And obviously, He did really well after that for his career. And on the flip side, I was lucky after I retired to be with Jacques Demers, who's won the Stanley Cup with the Montreal Canadiens in 1993. I did TV broadcast with him for 3 years, and I know he wasn't coaching me at the time, or didn't think it was coaching me, but I was just getting myself into coaching in junior and spending a lot of time during the broadcasts, telling me story, all the mistake he made, and when he made a good move. And I think that was so good to have that open discussion with him. And he didn't know at the time how much he was helping me, but I always think about Jacques. He's my friend, and a lot of respect for what he did and how he managed his player. And I could see the relationship he built with his player over the years when they've come to the Bell Center, and Jacques had a big influence.
Follow-up question. The roster turnover in the American League is unbelievable. I think the Gulls have had 51, 53, 56 players go through here over the last 3 years. How big a challenge is it to mold a winning culture when you never know who's going to be in your room day to day?
Yeah, that's not bad. I think we had 92 with Laval, so I'm used to that. You're telling me, I thought it was 56 a year. Oh, 56 over 2 years. Well, it's the reality. I think Bob said it right. The American League is about a winning environment. That's really what I believe in. It's a process. You can control what you can control. You never coach in the American League like you would coach in the NHL. This is not true. You're coaching with different reality, but it's a fun challenge. And that's why I think being 3 years with Laval was so great for me, because we were, at one point when we finished really high. I felt we as a group, as a coaching staff, we accomplished something with the Montreal Canadiens. And I like the challenge with the Gulls and the Anaheim organization. So you're right. The turnover, you can have your lineup all set up and 2 guys get called up, on game day, and you got to rethink your power play, but it's more than that. And when I came with the Habs, I always said, we're about winning the Stanley Cup. And it's the process, start with the minors and you keep going to the NHL. And it's the mindset and the process of having a winning attitude. And you can have a winning attitude through adversity or to, like you say, rollover in lineup. So it's the reality of the AHL. There's no league like it, obviously, with everything that can happen. But it's where it starts for me.
I don't know if you play golf, but here in January, we chipped the sunshine off the windshield. I know you didn't do that in Laval, but you're just going to have to suck it up and accept it.
Yeah, well, growing up in Montreal, I've been sucking it up for all my years, but I know it's a beautiful city, pretty excited. It's going to be a new challenge. Obviously, a lot of moving part for us here, but we're excited to move down to San Diego, get to meet the fans and the new player. And it's what it's all about, creating a, friendship and sticking with the process.
Welcome. Thank you. Hey, Bob, I just got a sidebar question from San Diego. I think in the last group of years, the Gulls are 210 wins and 136 losses. I mean, you've run a lot of good young players through here. They haven't all quite turned out in Anaheim yet. Are you pretty pleased with this operation? And a sidebar to that, did Kevin opt out of his contract, or did you just decide to make the change?
I just decided to make the change. No, we've been very, it was a dream of Brian Burke's and mine, get this specific division and to get, those days of us having our players back when we first came here in 2005, Berkey and I, and our players being in Portland, Maine, that was difficult. I mean, just the travel alone killed those. So it's been it's a dream come true for us to have San Diego. We pride ourselves on putting a decent product on the ice every year. I promise Joel will continue to do that, because, you look at Joel's record, it's great to develop, but when you develop, because winning is a habit, just like losing is a habit. And so we'll continue to do that, but we're very happy down there. And hopefully we're looking forward to getting back down there and having fans again. And, because we got a great fan base down there. So it's been wonderful in San Diego. We're very happy.
Great. Thank you for the time.
Well,
Patrick Williams.
Joel, in Laval, you were part of some good rivalries with teams in your division. Now you're coming out to the Pacific, where maybe some of the most intense rivalries in the league. What are you looking forward to in terms of going up against an Ontario or a Bakersfield, some of those teams?
Well, like I always said, even during COVID, there was a lot of question about who we're going to play, and especially in the American League, ice and board and an opponent. That's our job. And I've said it before. I said, whoever's coming at us, if we have to play Belleville last year 33 times, we can get our player on the ice. We'll be happy, because last year was challenging for everybody. And I think right now we're looking ahead to coming back to reality. But when you're a competitor, and I really like to be with the player. I mean, I'm not suffering to be on the ice and the bus and to spend time with them and to learn, and with the video and with the coaching staff. I think you create an environment, and all of a sudden, rivalry happened, and that's what we're all about. And I'm excited to play a new division, but more excited to learn about our player. I don't focus too much on the other organization, to be honest. I feel there's so much energy you can put in a day. It's all about us. What can we do to be better? What can we do to find an edge? And obviously, we always respect the opponent and what they do, and we try to learn. But we're pretty selfish. We like to look at ourselves and see what we can do, and let's see what they throw at us.
Thank you.
Eric Stevens.
Yeah, hi. I've got a question for both Bob and Joel. Hey, Bob, you've mentioned and emphasized development here, with Joel's hire. I'm curious as to what is it about that development that you particularly saw in how some of those, whether it's prospects, other players in Laval, developed under Joel, and what kind of impact do you think he had on that? If you can go maybe into a little bit into specifics with that development.
Well, it's not only Laval, it's the teams he had in Montreal and junior. I think he developed his junior players very well too, to take the next step to the American League. You look at his players are all over the leagues, and all you got to do, Eric, is just look at the Montreal Canadiens.
Mm-hmm.
Younger players, when they come up, how they played, and they contributed. That says it all. They came from Laval over the last few years to Montreal, and they contributed immediately. And that's what development is getting them ready for that next step. And that's what we saw with Joel.
They weren't just taking up roster spots when they were called up. They were making an impact.
They were contributing. They all contributed. And that's huge.
Yeah. And Joel, I'm curious. Obviously you've been a coach now for a number of years at different levels. Players have aspirations to obviously what they want to do, how they want to improve within their careers. What kind of aspirations do you have, in terms of as a coach, now that you've been doing it for a number of years?
Worst enemy is always the mirror every morning, and my aspiration is to be the best Joel Bouchard I can be. And my job is how can we get our player to be a better version of themselves? If everybody is a little bit better every day, then, we're all going to get better. And it starts with me. So, I really believe in process. I believe in doing things the right way, working together, and as good as I can be, that's my job to push myself. So really after that, everything take care of himself. The priorities on the player, it's not on me. Like I always say, it's never going to be about me. I don't play anymore. It's about the player holding the stick. It's them that are the one that, we got to work with. And sometimes we got to be, demanding a little bit on the task in hand. But at the end of the day, it's always the partnership with the player. And it's never about the coach for me. It never will. It's always about, we're just lucky we're in it for the ride when we coach, Eric. It's just a matter of making it all together and clicking and make sure we're progressing as a group. So, we have fun with the process, but that's how I see it.
One quick one. How do you handle, or what's your philosophy with the one-on-one with individual players? I know you have a lot of players that you have to deal with, but do you have an overarching philosophy in terms of how you deal with players individually?
Well, my job to make sure, if you play for us, Eric, it's how can you be Eric 2.0? That's my job. You are Eric right now. We work together so you're a better version of yourself. And I think that's what life is all about. And if you look at the NHL, Hockey is all about finding solution. The player will be bigger, they'll be stronger, they'll be faster, they'll have more talent, more experience. So our job with the young player and even with the older player that are ready to get called up is to make sure that they have all the tools and they're ready to perform. Because when they're going to drive down to Anaheim, it ain't going to be easier, Eric. Anybody that tells you the NHL is easier than the AHL is wrong. The NHL is the best league in the world with the best player. So this is what it's all about. It's that partnership one-on-one with a structure, obviously, in the style of play. But how can we push our player to be the best version of themselves? Day in, day out, shift in, shift out. So when that call comes, their box are checked and they're ready to go. And that's my responsibility. It's our players' responsibility to make sure that they're ready to play in an NHL level game when they are playing in the AHL.
Thanks much, Joel. Welcome. And I'm always looking to find the better version of myself. I haven't yet, but
we all do. We all do.
Troy Hirsch.
Hi, Joel. Troy Hirsch here with Fox 5 San Diego. Welcome to San Diego. You have obviously been with the Canadiens for a couple of years now, and a team that goes to the Stanley Cup would seem like an organization you would want to stay a part of. Why did you think coming to join a Ducks franchise that has not made the postseason in a couple of years be the right spot for you?
It wasn't the plan, to be honest, to come with the Ducks. You would have told me that 2 weeks ago. I would have laughed a little bit. My plan was to stay with the Habs. I was very happy with the Montreal Canadiens, and they didn't kick me out. We had discussion about position maybe as an assistant coach or with Dominic or going back to Laval. But I just really like the connection and the challenge with the Ducks. It was came out of left field, and you're right. I mean, we had a great ride with the Habs, and very proud of our young player and the old player. And Mark has done a good job with the team this year to build it up. So it wasn't part of the plan, trust me. But sometimes when opportunity and challenge, that excites you happen in life, you gotta jump on it. And it wasn't an easy decision, but it was something that was exciting to me. So you're right. There's been some challenge everywhere in the organization, with the Montreal Canadiens, with the Ducks, with every other organization. And every time there's a challenge, well, I'll kind of raise my arm and ready to take on it.
You use that term challenge a couple of times here in this press conference. What do you see as the biggest challenge with taking this job?
Well, challenges are fun. And I think that, first of all, even if, the reality is a new coach that come in and, haven't built any relationship with the player or staff. And this is right away what needs to be done. So that's obviously part of the challenge. But what I like is a lot of young guys that have been drafted by this organization, a lot of potential. And it's exciting to work with young guys and good veteran and building something that's special. And where, players are proud, the trainers are proud, the coaches are proud, the fans are proud. And, you kind of build this, and there's a bit of a movement there where everybody's wants to be part of it. This is the reality. Sports is bigger than us. We all want to be part of something bigger than us. And we felt it with the Montreal Canadiens this year in Montreal. And I feel that let's go to California and let's try to build something special.
And obviously, you'll be working closely with Dallas Eakins. Do you have a history with him? How well do you know him, if at all?
Well, obviously, I know him as a player. We play within the same age and against each other, and we already talked a couple of times. And as coaches, we always keep in touch. I remember we had some discussion a couple of years about players that he wanted to have information. And it's funny enough that he texted me the other day, and I saw text from 2-3 years ago when he was asking me about players and situations. So obviously we don't always connect as coaches, but every time we did, he's a great guy. He's got a great personality, and always fun to talk to. So him being in the West Coast and me being in the East Coast, obviously when he was in the AHL, we didn't cross paths, but it was fun to talk to him a couple of days ago.
And finally, I've heard your name pronounced on this press conference, Joel, and also Joel. Do you have a preference?
Not really. Honestly, I'm not too picky in those kind of things. I understand that, it is a French name and people are going to pronounce it differently. I don't get offended. I realize we have some Russian players sometimes that really probably messed up their name a little bit. So I'm not going to be too sensitive about it.
I understand. Working in TV, however, we like to get the names pronounced correctly. So Joel is how you
Perfect.
pronounce your
Joel
name?
is, yeah, it's great.
Okay, great. Congratulations on the gig. Welcome to San Diego. Look forward to meeting you in person.
Thank you very much.
Reminder, if you have a question, please use the raise your hand function, but I'll turn it, Amy Johnson, next, please.
Thank you, Aaron. Bonjour, Joel. How are you today? Great
Good.
to
Hi,
talk.
Amy.
Great to talk to you again. I have two questions for you, and both of them really stem off of this experience you're coming off of with your 3 years that you spent in Laval. The first being, it was this journey you went on in Laval was your first pro coaching experience, and what are you taking away from it in terms of finding that balance between developing your prospects, but also creating a winning environment at the same time, and those two priorities that have to kind of go together at the same time?
Well, that's the challenge of a coach, Amy. You're right. This is always the balance that we need to find and have. And sometimes we feel we're right there as coaches, and it's the same thing in the NHL, and it's the same thing in any sport. You never stop developing in any league you're in the world, and you always keep that mindset of winning, obviously. So it's always that balance that you have to have, and this is what coaching is all about. Always been and always will be. In any league you have to balance this concept because your team needs to grow. That's the reality. Where your team is in October, as a team, as a group, they need to be better in January and February, and when comes May and June, that what really matters to have all that, like you said, that development. That's sometimes a little hard. Obviously, we've lose some games sometimes that it's part of development, but then you have that winning mindset, and you feel comfortable. You can head up to the deep in the season with those big game, and you have that winning attitude and that winning concept that can really, you can start the game and know that you're going to be fine because you've checked your box all year long.
Kind of going along the next step after that, and I know that we've talked about this throughout the last couple of seasons, but Bob even mentioned it just a couple of minutes ago. It's one thing to develop the prospect at the AHL level. It's another thing altogether to successfully transition them to the NHL game. And what is it that you have found are the keys to making sure a prospect can contribute immediately and have an impact as soon as they go to the NHL, and not have as many stumbling blocks occur?
Yeah. Well, it's the partnership I'm going to, have to make with the player to make him realize that, his style of play needs to be NHL, because we always, every organization draft good player and player that can play in the AHL and even be successful in the AHL. But I feel that it's our job as a coaching staff to guide the player, to give him the tools so he'll be able to play in the NHL and have success. So all the details in the game. What you need to do when you get to the NHL is only one thing: get the trust of your coaching staff. This is what it is. I mean, you get called up, obviously. You played in an inferior level. The coach needs to know right away, I can put this guy on the ice. He can contribute and have a positive impact. So, and after that, probably grow even more, because then you'll be even more comfortable. So, the way you play needs to make everybody comfortable behind the bench, on the bench, and on the ice. And it goes with habits. It goes with, details. And I think, Amy, you followed our team a lot over the last 3 years, and how many times we've talked, me and you, and I've told you we're growing and our guys are growing, and everything we've worked is paying off. It takes time. Everybody wants things quick. We order Amazon and it's like, great, it's coming the next day. Hockey's not like that. Some players get it a lot quicker, some don't. But the main goal is for them to have an NHL game in the AHL so they can play, and it's demanding.
One last just quick question for you. I know you had mentioned on Friday that Daniel Jacob will be accompanying you. Do you know yet who else will fill out your bench, or if you're bringing anyone else from Laval, or is that all still in the
Well, we
works?
keep, you know how much I like Danielle, but we're gonna keep that process and everything. Everything's going pretty quick, Amy. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I imagine.
Got a lot on my plate here, and thank God it's only July 12th. So we have time, and the season's a little later, so we're gonna do things the right way. Bob and Martin Madden and all the staff and in Anaheim, you have a lot of work to do in the next few days and weeks with all the drafts and everything. So we'll just go one day at a time. And today was the day about talking about coming to San Diego. So we'll trust me, Amy. We'll have a lot of stuff to do, and we'll let you know as we go on.
Excellent. Well, thank you as always for your time. Bon chance.
Thanks.
A couple more for Joel. Stéphane Leroux.
Yes, two questions, one for Joel, but first of all, I want to ask Bob, how much it was a surprise for you to have a guy like Joel available on July 1st?
It was a surprise. And again, as I said, we've been watching this over the last year or so as we've figured out, we thought about development and coaches we were looking at, and we were aware that his contract was in the expiring on the June 30th, and what Montreal was going to do. So we were very aware of that, as with a couple of other guys. But Joel was the number one guy, and we called him the next day as soon as we knew, and we wondered what had happened, if he's got anything. And Montreal had talked to him already, and I had talked to Bouchard. I played with Mark and was a defense partner of mine, so he knew my intentions going ahead of that. So there was no games being played there. It's just he was coming available. He was a guy we were going after big time.